Welcome back to Muscle in the Morning, brought to you by Iron Mag Labs. Make your mark. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today is Wednesday, June 7th, 2017. And let's find out what's going on in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. As you get older, you start to realize that there are some people in this world who just have a sickening work ethic, coded directly into their DNA. And John Meadows definitely seems to fit that mold. A few weeks after making his season debut back at the Cal Pro, Mr. Grain Train looks like he's about ready to pull out of the station for stop number 2 on his 2017 World Tour. New training footage this week showed a ridiculously shredded Meadows cashing in another early morning leg session with some old school vertical leg presses. You don't ever get anything less than 100% of what John Meadows has to offer each and every time he sets foot out there on that stage. And I fully expect him to give the competition all they can handle whenever he decides to touch down next. There's a pretty short list of women who've ever been fortunate enough to wear the Figure Olympia crown for 3 consecutive years. And right about now, there's nothing in the world Loria Watts wants more than to add her name to that list. Just under 100 days out from making a run at her 3rd straight Figure Olympia title, Queen Loria is letting it be known that she's officially flipped the switch and gone into Terminator mode. A handful of new progress photos were released this week that show the 2-time defending champ looking as focused as we've ever seen her in a very long time, as she attempts to show the world that Loria Watts deserves a spot on the figure division's Mount Rushmore. Watts' 4th place finish at the Arnold Classic earlier this year has really thrown everything in the division into disarray. But as we've seen time and again at the Olympia, champions have a funny way of rising to the occasion when it feels like all the chips are stacked against them. Over the last few years, the British nationals have produced some flat-out killers that have gone on to do some major things at the pro level. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out that 2015 British national champion Sasan Harati is already on the path to greatness. A few weeks removed from an impressive 6th place showing back at the New York Pro, Herati isn't wasting any time getting back to work. Earlier in the week, some new progress photos surfaced from the Herati camp that show the future star looking completely insane. According to Herati, he's officially entering into the off-season mode and preparing to make a strong run that he believes will carry him all the way to the Olympia stage. And assuming he can make a couple of slight adjustments, by the time we hit this point next season, this guy could be a real handful to deal with. Sometimes in sports, it's the guys who've got a little bit of FU coursing through their veins who we end up seeing rising to the occasion. And right about now, it looks like Stan McQuay's got plenty of it going on. Just under 6 weeks out from hitting the stage at the Chicago Pro, McQuay looks like he's really starting to kick things up into another gear. Last season, McQuay came out like a man possessed when he outpaced a red-hot Darren Charles to win the Salt Lake City Pro in impressive fashion. And if he's already sporting this kind of conditioning a month and a half out from hitting the stage, all I have to say is good luck to anyone out there crazy enough to think that you can slow this freight train down. For anyone out there who's been getting their passports ready and planning to kick that trip to the Far East off their bucket list, as you head to the Arnold Asia, you might want to pump the brakes a little bit. Recently, it was announced that this year's Arnold Classic Asia was officially being postponed for what organizers are calling time to implement new systems to underpin our long-term vision. From what we know right now, the show is expected to resume again in 2018, which will hopefully bring one of the greatest spectacles in sports back to an area of the world that could have a huge economic impact on the sport if things ever end up really taking off. Over the last few decades, we've seen Arnold and Jim Lorimer create an enterprise that is really unlike anything else in bodybuilding, or really in all of sports for that matter. And for the sake of the fans and the athletes, I hope we see it get back up and running as soon as possible.